Hello and welcome to the Being Human podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Bottaro, and we are continuing our series of Insider Baseball here, a look at the Catholic Psych CPMAP certification through the lens of graduates, students who have experienced it for themselves and have gone on to graduate, and now they're doing stuff in the world with it. So we have today Mary Sutarik, who was a focus missionary, and she had her own experiences with mental health that she'll talk about a little bit here, and wanting to get some help for herself to shore up some areas, and then was so inspired that she wanted to really devote more of her life to it. She joined our certification program, and she went through it and is graduated and is now serving others, and so blessed to have her and her mind and her heart, the way that she thinks and looks at things, are really beautiful, and I get to share that with you here today. So I hope this episode blesses you. We are preparing for our open house to talk even more about what is inside the certification, the CPMAP Certified Mentorship Program, to become certified in Catholic accompaniment. And all of this is so new. There's all different ways to talk about this, which is why we're providing all these different sort of experiences of how to understand exactly what's going on in our program. But we are getting brought into seminaries, into missionary programs, into school systems. The work that God is doing here with deep integration of faith and reason in science. Faith, reason, and science should all be integrated together. And we're going to talk all about that at the open house on October 1st. You can register for that at CatholicPsych.com/open house. We will put a link here for that in the show notes. It's free registration. Obviously, it's just a webinar online. I'll be live with you on the evening Eastern time, October 1st. And if you register, you'll also get a link for the replay after the fact. But I can't wait to share with you all the things that are inside our program, and some great opportunities as well for the people that come to the open house as well, in terms of pricing and some extra bonuses and things like that. So please plan to join us then. Put it on your calendar, schedule the time, block out the time, and I hope this episode blesses you. God bless. I spent the last 10 years learning how to help people using the best techniques available in psychology integrated with the Catholic faith. Now we've figured out that there's a better way to help people than just slapping a Catholic label on the same secular model of therapy you find anywhere else. The real question is, how will we make this shift to a new model of truly Catholic accompaniment, keeping the psychological sciences in mind while opening up to a more human and more effective approach? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I take you behind the scenes of what this new model looks like, using recorded audio from sessions working with my team, with colleagues, and even directly with clients. My name is Dr. Greg Bottaro, and I want to welcome you to the Being Human podcast. Hey, Mary, welcome. Thanks for joining me here on the show.
Hi, Dr. Greg. It's great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is so great. We're doing this little series, and this has been really fun. Obviously, I know all the students through the program, but not everybody has, very few people have actually been on the podcast before. And this is always like a new angle. It's like a new environment to have a chat with somebody. So this has been a lot of fun, and I'm really grateful for your yes to come on the show and be here with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so different. We're so used to mentorship where it's voice memos. So this is different for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, setting up the video, and it's like real time, and it's like, oh gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the basic idea here is that we've been giving people a little taste of what it's like to be in the program from the perspective of actual students and graduates. Instead of me just talking about the program once again and, going through all the different things that are in it, which I'm going to be doing at our open house on October 1st. But besides that, I think it's just so much more interesting when students actually share from their own experience, and graduates, now that you're actually a graduate. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very new, but very exciting. So, yeah, definitely have been on the other side of, where people might be listening right now. So, it's definitely different when you graduate and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like I've done the thing and now let's go and help some people out, right? So, it's such a good experience, but also so different being on this side of it as well.
Yeah, so let's back up to where you started. I don't I well, I guess talk about what you were doing before, what your history has been like a little bit before actually hearing about CPMAP, and then how you came to know about what we're doing and that process.
Yeah, great question. Well, there's so much there, but a little bit about me and the Catholic Psych. So, I have been in ministry for quite some time. So, graduated college and I kind of always had this call, to help people and to really just allow people to grow in their faith. For me, that happened in college. And so I felt really called to do college ministry as someone who as a young adult might feel. And so, yeah, really just joined or started that journey of ministry on a college campus. So I was there for 4 years. And then obviously I was in college for a few years and then I did college ministry for 4 years. And actually, ironically, during that time, I had so many different mental health things going on, and it made doing missionary work just so hard. And I realized that I wasn't the only one who was struggling with my mental health. It seemed like everyone around me who was on mission, or at least a good majority of the people, were struggling and just didn't really know who they could turn to. Because, especially when you're a college missionary, you live with the people that you work with typically. You're very much in community, and it can be semi isolating when these things are coming up and you're like, well, is a missionary supposed to have mental health worries? Like, am I supposed to have anxiety? Is it okay to have depression? Like, what should I do? And so I think really just my own experience and my own mental health journey have led me to where I am. Ironically, one of my missionary teammates was doing Catholic mindfulness. She was like doing her deep breathing exercises, the body and breath exercise in our house when I was on mission. And I was like, what are you doing? And yeah, honestly, from there, I was like, the Catholic Psych, like, who are these people?
So she was the first one to introduce you to what we're all about.
Yeah, yeah, and it was
Oh, that's
through her
cool.
doing the Catholic mindfulness retreat in our living room where I was like, "You're really weird. Why are you doing this?" And now I do it. So, it's just kind of funny how that all kind of plays out how it's supposed to. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was like 4 years ago, so it's been some time.
that's awesome. And so when did you first hear about this CPMAP certification?
So I actually did mentorship. So I, went on the whole what is it called? The little course that you have, the open house, like you said. I did the open house and then ended up doing mentorship for a while before doing the CPMAP program. So honestly, as soon as you guys debuted the CPMAP program, I'd already had a little bit of experience with Catholic Psych and mentorship as a whole, and was actually discerning if I wanted to go to grad school or to do the CPMAP program. So it was just perfect timing to say yes to doing the CPMAP program.
That's awesome. So when you were in mentorship, did you already start to have a sense that you wanted to be able to provide mentorship? Like, you were already a missionary. You
Mm-hmm.
realized,
Yeah.
like, okay, we all need help at
Yep.
times.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to get some help for yourself.
Yep.
but then were you already starting to
Mm-hmm.
connect the dots between like the way that you were being accompanied through
Mm-hmm.
mentorship and then what you could potentially do in your own missionary work?
Completely, completely. And I always felt like there was some aspect of missionary work that I just couldn't help people in. And that was the mental health aspect, right? Because we're healed in relationship a lot of the time. And so it's like, as a missionary, you're in a relationship with people, like every single day. And yet there was a part of me that wanted to go deeper but didn't feel like I had all of the resources or the capabilities to always do that. And so I found myself saying like, oh, you should go and get a counselor, or you should go and get mentorship a lot of times to the people I was working with, because we were going through some pretty heavy conversations with people on a daily basis. So I think it was, yeah, like a gradual calling that I kind of always knew I wanted to be in the mental health field. And when this opportunity arose, I was like, okay, well, it just makes sense to continue to open these doors to do what I want to do and what God's calling me to do.
That's awesome. I think it's really telling that the first thought you had, like when you experienced some of your own struggles, your sense of it is like, is it okay that I feel like this? Am I allowed to feel like this?
Mm-hmm.
But what is so prevalent is so many people in ministry are feeling like that. And we work with a lot of missionary organizations. I mean, we work with Focus, with St. Paul's Outreach. We work with Corazon Puro here locally in New York, and Culture Project, a number of places. But also, we work with seminaries, and we work with dioceses and priests who are in ministry, who have given their whole life to the vocation,
Yeah.
and everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the world is becoming less and less supportive of human flourishing on a number of
Yes.
levels. And we could talk all day about all the reasons why. But the fact of the matter is that whether you're, Focus or, a major seminary, nobody's prepared to subsidize the human formation needs that people are coming in with today.
Yeah.
And so this is where we're stepping in now to say like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody needs extra help right now. Everybody needs supplementation. It's almost like the essential vitamins got pulled out of the water supply.
Yeah.
And so we have to go back and like come up with supplements that we can add back into the water supply. But you are on the front edge of first of all being honest about that for yourself, seeking it out yourself, getting the help that you needed, then
Mm-hmm.
seeing the need, and then realizing that you can actually go through this training and be able to provide for that need on a deeper level.
Oh, completely. And I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to be like, I need help. It's terrifying to say, I actually, I'm doing my best to help people, and like praise God for that. Like so much can come from our yeses. But it's so beautiful how, the Lord invites us into deeper opportunities of healing and growth, and how that ultimately helps the people that we're working with too in ministry. And so I'm just so grateful that, I felt like for me, it was just so available. The Catholic Psych made it so available to me. But yeah, my heart breaks because I'm like, I hope that people who are on mission are receiving the help that they need in order to just honestly make it through and survive, and not just like die every day.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable the burdens that are being carried by people in that work. And it's not even I mean, there's that full-time kind of missionary life, and then there's also like people that are volunteering at the Newman centers,
Mm-hmm.
people on college campuses that are just in campus ministry at the centers where they're walking with other students. And I mean, honestly, if you're listening as a parent of students, the support necessary here is tremendous. And I think everybody knows it, but not everybody knows that there's a place to direct that support, to support just in terms of knowing that we're doing what we're doing. This is what we are doing. We're providing this human formation supplementation that is missing from so many other places because we've just never needed it before in the way that we need it today. So, okay, so you're in that space, you're taking care of yourself, you're thinking about others, you hear about certification. I want to get into the practicals because this is how I've sort of framed this for other interviews, because I'm fascinated to hear about this process for people. Like, now that you have a whole certification level understanding of self-awareness, can you travel back in time to look at Mary before she signed up and be like, all right, what was going on inside of her? Like, what parts were triggered? What parts were hesitant and scared? But more importantly, how did you make the decision to actually jump in and sign up?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I was so terrified. I was so nervous. I mean, who had really done this program? No one. And
Right.
so here I am. I'm like, just finished being a focused missionary. And I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I am just being thrown out into the water here. I don't know what I'm doing. So if you're a focused missionary and you don't know what you're doing, it's probably okay. You'll figure it out. So, yeah, I don't know. I knew that I wanted to help people and I knew that my Catholic faith was so important to me. But I think there were these parts of me that were coming out that were like, yeah, again, nobody's really done this program, right? You're a guinea pig in a way. Um, do you do you have the money? I think money was a big thing too because I was just coming off a mission and all of that, and so I was like, okay, financially, Mary, like, are you going to be able to afford this program? And then I think just like on a deeper level, it's scary. It's scary to enter into a program that encourages you to enter into your own experiences and your own traumas and your own life experiences, you know? And so I think for me, it was almost this fear of, okay, Mary, like, can you actually be a mentor? Which is funny because I wanted to be a mentor, but there were so many parts of me that liked the idea of it. But then I'm like, okay, doing it practically, like, Mary, can you do this practically? And honestly, when I started out the program, probably not because I was so anxious. Was so anxious. I was so nervous. I was even depressed. Like there were, parts of me that were depressed at the time, where I guess I was in a season of maybe being more depressed. And I think that came with the transition, of a lot of different things going on in my life. And so I was like, okay, am I in a good place to do this, And so I think there were just so many things that were coming up. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, Mary, you're going to have that support on a daily basis. So if you're not in a place, they're going to tell you that you're not in a place to do this, right? And you're going to have that daily opportunity to work through your things and to really grow in that knowledge. So, yeah, you might not know right now what you're doing, but you're going to get to that point where you can. And I had walked with people in the past. So it wasn't like, it was foreign to me, but just the model was so different and scary. I think it's scary when you haven't done it. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I signed up and said, hey, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Or I don't know if I'll do it if I don't do it now. And so I just kind of pulled the trigger. And here we are about 2 years later, actually, which is so crazy because I don't think Mary 2 years ago would have ever seen Mary now, which is just so beautiful to see the transformation. And I'm sure the transformation that goes on not only in my life, but in numerous other people's lives who get to go through this experience and through mentorship as a whole.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. Were you considering going to grad school or other programs, or what was your thought process like in there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people who are attracted to the Catholic psychological world, they have to. We have to. And so I was definitely looking at more Catholic centered programs like DMU and St. What's the one in Kansas? Is it St. Mary's? St. Mary's? Oh, Benedictine. I don't know. I was looking.
Benedictine is in Kansas, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at several different ones, not super intensely, um, but I was looking at them. Yeah. Hmm.
And so, what was the ultimate? What did it come down to for you? How did you decide to take a chance on this thing that that didn't have a program yet?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, I had done mentorship. So I think I had seen the
There's a
fruit of
connection there.
mentorship in my own life, and I really enjoyed that. I like the flexibility of it. So I have several things in my life that I had to look at and think practically, like, do I want to do the traditional counseling model? Like, do I want to, do what all my friends are doing? Or do I want to do something that's more flexible or more integrated into my life? And I can
Mm.
still help people. And then it's more integrated into their life too. So I think at the end of the day, there are so many factors. I mean, it costs too. It's expensive to go and get your master's. And I felt like this program, when I looked at it from a far out picture, it just made sense. Everything that I got for it. That would eventually lead to that long-term goal that I wanted to live a more flexible life and to ultimately create my own little business or partnership. So, yeah, there are a lot of different things, so many, but yeah, and
Yeah, a
being
lot of elements
Catholic.
to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so you go through the program. I guess was there anything that stuck out for you as like most challenging about the program itself?
Hmm. That's a good question. I wonder what people usually say. Hmm.
Part of you feels a little exposed here. You want to join up with your cohort here and find out what the norm is.
Yeah. So the most challenging. Hmm. I think starting to see clients was very challenging. I think that was
Mm,
probably the moment where everything became real and you don't know who your mentees are going to be. So you guys at the Catholic Psych just kind of give us mentees and you trust us. And for me to feel trusted in such a sacred space was really scary at the beginning. It was really scary because it's like, okay, can I do this? Can I do this? And honestly, I'm pretty sure my first message, I had a panic attack, like a very slight panic attack, but I definitely had to like stop the message and then click go again and film it or like keep talking. Um, and so, yeah, like I realized how human I was and how, I have parts of me that are anxious that come up and just how beautiful it has been to see those parts go down and for a greater freedom to be had in mentorship as a whole, which is totally God's plan, to allow us that greater freedom. But yeah, definitely felt very nervous and scared in those moments.
well, so I imagine you brought that up in supervision.
Oh, completely.
What was that like?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I like started to leave the message and then I was like, I can't do this. So I like then left a message to my supervisor and I'm like, I can't do this. But like he's not gonna listen to it right away. So then I think it was just that moment of like, okay, you can do this, right? You have to do it. Or you get to do it. But he was so sweet. My supervisor was so kind and loving and was just like, Mary, you got this. And we kind of processed it together. Um, so yeah, I never felt like I was alone in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it really is very typical. I think across the board for all mental health training programs, and there's actually research done for this very part of the experience to match or to track anxiety for grad students in mental health programs. And there's an interesting parallel between the first client you ever get in practicum with under supervision, and then again, and I don't think you all have to tell me what you think, and it's okay if you disagree, but in mental health, at least in terms of psychotherapy, when a person is out on their own after graduating and sort of hanging your own shingle and being out there, there's almost a return of, there's an experience of a regurgitation of that initial anxiety. And so in licensed mental health, this happens where this is a replay of that first client anxiety.
Interesting. That's interesting. Very, very triggering. Yeah.
What's your experience been like since graduating?
With clients as a whole, like, do I go
Yeah,
back to that moment or that
yeah,
experience?
yeah.
Ooh, good question. No, I don't. Um, I don't feel like I do. I feel a lot more comfortable. I feel a lot more at ease. I feel a lot more myself. But I'm sure as cases come up, there are going to be different moments where something might come up in my heart or in my mind that I might panic over. And is that okay? Is that okay for me to, kind of have those moments, right? Um, yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I feel a lot more confident in how the program has trained me and who I've become in the process to do this work. Yeah.
That's really awesome. Yeah, we take really seriously how much we walk with our students and then develop partnerships and develop ongoing
Mhm.
relationships so that after graduation we're still doing this all together and we're really building this huge, it's really a mission, and this huge outreach to but to continue to be together in that and supporting each other. That's why I felt like there was probably, for the most part, most schools, once you graduate, you're on your own, and you're not only growing with your professional identity, but you're also reestablishing your support systems. And I think I didn't really think about this until I saw that research later on, but we've kind of stumbled into reducing one of those transitional anxieties because
Mhm.
you're not reestablishing a new support system. You're growing deeper with the support system that you already started to build. So that's why I was saying my guess would be that for most students that after they graduate, they're probably not going to. Maybe there's a little bit of that. I know I'm always working through people's parts of like we have to charge now, we have to like advertise and market ourselves, we have to like stick ourselves out there. Like this thing, we don't have a license as a therapist, so now how do I talk about it? What are we doing?
That
That's
can be
normal.
scary.
That is legitimate.
Yeah.
Definitely. But but
I've never thought of
it's
that though. Like everything you just said, yeah, because the transition was so natural. It didn't feel that intimidating. Where I guess if I were to work for a different organization or a company that I don't know these people, I don't know my new supervisor, like if I was in a different organization, that would be kind of scary.
yeah, it can be, but it's all. I mean, a lot of these things are totally normal. I mean, transition itself is always really normal, but we have a missionary priest who recently graduated, and we charge very low fees for people to work with a student mentor, and the students have supervision, like you've had supervision, but you're not already certified, so we charge much lower fees, makes our mentorship more accessible to people. But it also means that if you graduate, the lower fee has to increase. And for a lot of people, like, that transition is like, oh, I don't know if I'm worth more than whatever that. But even the missionary priest went through this, where it was like, and I'm like, it doesn't matter how much we increase the fee. It just has to increase something, like
Yeah.
$20, like something to mark the change in your state. You went from being uncertified as a student in supervision to now you have certification. So for the good of the client to understand the value of what is happening here in this process, like, just do something. And by the way, the missionary priest income is going to his mission. It's not even going to him.
That's
It's
awesome.
like all this. It's so funny, the money stuff that gets into the head and how it messes with our perception of things. But a lot of people do struggle with that in terms of like, all right, now I'm going to graduate. I'm going to be out there. And you just are recently getting started.
Yeah.
But
Very recent.
what's it been like for you to like prepare for starting your own thing? Where's your heart? What are you looking to do? To who do you want to serve? And how's that process been like for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, I actually graduated on the Feast of the Visitation, which is so beautiful because I love the idea of Mary and Elizabeth visiting one another. And I feel like through mentorship, I'm able to do that on a daily basis, which is so, so good and so unique. It has its challenges, it has its blessings. It's so different than anything I would have ever thought of. So, just with the visitation in mind, I really feel called to reach out to the modern Catholic or, those who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever age. It doesn't matter. Just we're all modern because we're all living in 2024. And so, oh no, my headphone just fell out. So, oh, okay. Hopefully everything's okay. But anyway, all that to say that I have just been reaching out a lot on social media. I feel like there's a lot that can be done on social media to just inform people about mental health and Catholicism. And I love working with people on mission. So that's always a blessing because I've had a lot of experience in that. And I'm still in ministry. So I still work for a church on the side. And so I definitely am still in the ministry world as a whole. And so, I would just say really reaching out to those who feel isolated and lonely and feel like they can't talk about their feelings or their emotions, or they've never been taught. I think a lot of times, as I'm learning, so many of us don't learn. We've never been taught that it's okay to have feelings, to have emotions, and to be Catholic. Like, oh my goodness, who would have thought, like Catholics can have these deep experiences and these deep feelings and all of these things, and that you can grow in the freedom of heart to be yourself. I think that a lot of times there's that tension, like, oh my gosh, that person doesn't have the same faith as me or the same background as me. And I think when you go deeper into your mental health, maybe your experiences in life, then you're able to realize how maybe there have been defenses that have been put up that are preventing you from really being, who you wanted to be. So anyway, all that to just say that it's been a blessing and just a great opportunity to be able to walk with people. And especially when people reach out from Instagram, it's always so interesting because I just feel like the Holy Spirit has such a hand in all of that and allowing, modern technology to connect people together. And how modern is it to have mentorship on your phone as a whole? So that's kind of where my heart is just reaching out to whoever needs it.
Yeah, it feels, I mean, it's certainly very deeply integrated with our model and what we've been striving for. I mean, the very method itself, using an app on the phone, engaging with people, it's like, I mean, it's a real significant problem that people are so glued to their phones, and it's devastating to our humanity. And we can just say that and keep that to ourselves in our world, not in the space of technology, or we can enter in and meet people where they're at and try to get them to move, a little bit closer towards more of their humanity, taking the next good step, which might mean using the technology a little bit less and connecting with people a little bit more. But if we can give people a human connection that's more legitimate, like you're using social media to hook people to then have real human experiences,
Exactly.
which is something social media doesn't actually create.
Correct.
But you're finding people where they are in social media, but that's to draw them out of social media, and it's to go towards social connection.
Yeah. Yeah, to
And
meet
then,
people
okay, so
where
we're
they
still
are.
using an app on the phone.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, your handle is it The Catholic Mentor?
The Modern Catholic Mentor.
I mean, I'm sorry, the Modern Catholic Mentor?
Yes.
But there's a the at the front of it.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll link that in the show notes. And it's awesome to see what you're bringing to the world with your experience working with young adults, combining it with what you've been trained in now, and again seeing what CPMAP can become because you're using it, because you're collaborating with it, because you're integrating your own heart and your own mind with it, and now watching it go in this whole new direction that I never thought of, I never anticipated. But it's awesome because it's like, oh, this is so cool that this thing is happening here. So you can find you on Instagram. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, so mainly Instagram is the biggest place right now. So just highly recommend Instagram. There's a Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere, but I'm primarily Instagram.
Driving people to Instagram, okay. And then also you have the moderncatholicmentor.com.
Yes. So feel free to check out the website. Yes.
And you can schedule a consultation, free consultation with you through there if you want to go deeper and exploring how mentorship might be able to help you, or maybe there's other resources that could be more helpful, but you have that available as well.
Yeah, I love when people send me a DM or, just find my website. It is such a joy, and I love to walk with people wherever they find themselves. So yes, please reach out.
That's really cool. What else do you have planned? I know we've talked about a bunch of things that you're planning for the future.
Yeah, so I also, in addition to being a missionary and being in ministry, I love working with women who have hormonal imbalances. So that's been part of my story. And so definitely in the future, just want to continue to integrate our hormones and mental health, because so many women are suffering with different hormonal imbalances, PCOS, endometriosis, and a million other things. It's so prevalent. And so I would just love to continue to meet the modern Catholic where they are, even in their hormones, and to just bring stability to them. So whether that's a course, I would love to work on a course for women who are suffering in that way.
I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah, it'll be
awesome.
Great.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time. I'm really, really blessed by you and your inspiration and your yes, and the gift that you are to all those whom you serve. And to our listeners, I hope that this has blessed you, learning a little bit more about the CPMAP experience for one of our graduates here. And by all means, if you want to connect with Mary further, then you can do through her website, the moderncatholicmentor.com. And also we'll post all the links in the show notes. God bless you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Being Human podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us spread the word and hear more, please head over to iTunes, leave us a review, and subscribe, as it really helps us to get our content out to more people. Be sure to listen next time as I take you deeper into what it means to be human. If you want more free content and information about what we do at the Catholic Psych Institute, head on over to CatholicPsych.com. God bless you.